Hey there, student leaders. This is Mrs. Hiltz, assistant principal over at Boulder Ridge, and I'm going to go ahead and give us some virtual shout outs for some amazing students that have been doing amazing during their virtual learning experience. So first off, I want to say thank you to all of the students and all of the families out there that have been working really hard on, trying to organize, trying to modify, trying to step up and really take charge of your learning during this virtual learning environment. Okay, now let's get into the names. So from Mrs. Gerges' class, we have Peyton Spalding for being proactive. Peyton saw a need for morning announcements and made it happen. Way to take initiative. In Mrs. Park's class, we have Gianna Smith, who's also being proactive. Gianna is always logging in on time to her Google Meet and has all her materials ready for the day. Mrs. Spray's class is representing Kalila Keller, and she's putting first things first. These students come to class, or she comes to class every day and has all of her materials ready and gets all of the completed work done that is needed for independent work time. Good job, great work. In Mrs. Tomachov's class, we have Layla Lozano, who's being proactive. Layla was being proactive by telling her mom that she was not the one that broke the toy, kind of a little disagreement between her and her cousin. So she was being proactive and stood up. In Mrs. Lozano's class, we have Ricky Manning, who's also being proactive, troubleshooting when his computer is lagging, turning in assignments, and resubmitting after feedback. Good job. He is on top of it and taking charge of himself. Way to go, Ricky. In Mr. McDowell's class, we have Luis Rivacalda, and he was being proactive too. He's been online ready to go each morning, and he is ready and early enough, and he will even begin some of his independent work ahead of time. Luis keeps contact and is always, following through on his Google Meets and Seesaws. Awesome job. And in Mrs. Wilkinson's class, we have Hudson Bell, who's also being proactive. Any technological problems that occurred when he was taking the initiative to help the teacher and students in any way that he could. In Mrs. Pineda's class, we have Jamie Gamil, also being proactive. She created a video for the class to have 2 tabs open so when they work and they can be involved in the Google Meet at the same time. She figured it out on her own. Good job on being proactive. In Miss Miller's class, we have Carson Ingram, who's also being proactive. And she is very positive and helpful and has a good attitude all day long. Awesome. In Mrs. Mcmullin's class, we have Riker Delgado being proactive. Riker sent in his extra work naming all the words with the initial letter sound of the day, and he could think of this week. Great job being proactive in your learning, Riker. In Mrs. Crater and Mrs. Galizio's class, we have Carolyn Simmons, who's also being proactive. Carolyn is always on time and puts in great effort to participate. In Mrs. White's class, or Miss White's class, we have Jacob Drummond, thinking win-win, helping me and helping other students with technology issues. Way to go. In Mrs. Suarez's class, we have Jaylene McCrae, beginning with the end in mind. Jaylene is ready to go every morning. He has a plan for how he should be present during the morning meetings. His workstation is clear, free of distraction, and he listens attentively so he can learn. He also participates every day. Knowing what he needs to do helps him be successful in his class. Awesome job. In Mrs. Cornejo's class, we have Chloe Reynolds, who's also being proactive. Chloe needed help on assignments and did not shy away from asking for it. She contacted me via means she could. She started with Google Classroom and then Class Dojo. She took her learning into her own hands, and we worked together 2 consecutive days. She completed her work. In Mrs. Rourke's class, we have Cameron Acuna, and this child is putting first things first. Cameron has good work habits. He completes all his assigned tasks and takes time to do them well. He is eager to learn and participates in all classroom activities. Awesome job. In Leilani Poulter's class, Mrs. Poulter's class, we have Leonidas Caceres, and he's being proactive. He is always ready to listen, learn, and participate. In Mrs. Uribe's class, Ariana Cisneros is putting first things first. Ariana is always ready to start the day and does her work when she plays. And she does all her work and then she plays. Sorry for that. And way to be a leader. Okay, next page. We have some amazing students here. So in Mrs. Rivera's class, we have Jordan Connor, who's also being proactive. What can I say about Jordan? Mrs. Rivera states, she is a rock star. Every morning she comes to school ready to rock. She is amazing and she takes charge of her learning, asks questions, and has a heart of gold. Lucky to have her in my class. In Mrs. Cook's class, we have Liam O'Malley, and Liam is always ready to go, stays on top of his assignments, and asks for help, and is helpful during our online time. So, good job for being proactive. In Miss Monty's class, we have Matthew Muraquin, putting first things first, and making eye contact and sharing each day. In Mrs. Winkler's class, we have Jordan Massey, being proactive, always ready to go, and participates with leadership skills to help others. Miss Ortiz's class, we have Antonio Ramirez Martinez, who's also being proactive. Anthony has been completing and turning in his classwork. He also checks daily on a Google Doc posted by the teacher to see what he needs to complete. He is taking charge of his own learning. Ms. Cole wants to go ahead and give a shout out to Mr. Joseph Reyes for sharpening the saw. Joe has to balance two Google Meets with two different teachers. He's always on it. He asks for assistance when needed. He is completing his work. Great job in balancing his day. In Mr. Oliveris' class, also Mrs. Rosenblum's class, we have Alexis Gill, who likes to synergize, always looking for a chance to participate and interact with her classmates. And we have Mrs. Ballin, who's representing Miss Riley Elliott, putting first things first. Riley is always attentive and gets her items ready in a timely manner. Mr. Mitchum also gave a shout out to Deja Guzman for being proactive. Deja had a rough start to the year with a lot of tech issues, and she and her mom worked collaboratively with Mr. Mitchum to help get her into Google Classroom and ready for learning. Awesome. And last but not least, we have Mr. Hernandez. And he wants to give a shout out to Carlos Zaragoza for being proactive, for his persistence and patience in technology. And I think that's the key word at this time for all of us is patience. Really, this is a new experience for teachers, families, and students, and we're all so proud of you here at Boulder Ridge for taking the leap into virtual learning. So keep on learning, keep on leading, and I'll see you next week. Bye now.